Mackenzie McDonald, and this is my illustrated story. Hi. Hi. I have my hands full.
Oh, that's okay.
Nice to meet you.
Welcome.
Yes.
What did you bring?
I am 25. I just am in my 3rd year of teaching, so fresh to the game. Still trying to figure life out. I just got engaged last June, so we're coming up on our year of being engaged.
When I read her entry, I knew there was like this connection. So being with her today and tattooing her, that connection was solidified even more.
And then, the yellow I like, but I also like how it's
Some of the fluff is gone?
bare, yeah.
Okay. And
the beginning, I like the beginning too.
Okay. She went on to talk about the piece itself, and like how dandelions are significant to her dad, and describing what that meant to her, and how she wanted it in the stages of life, because they all kind of mattered to her. So
the first stage is actually like where it just looks like a leafy weed. So there might not even be a stem yet. So sometimes they're in your flower beds and you often want to pull them out. That's like the strength of the dandelion. So that's like where where it all starts, the root, you know what I mean? The next stage is when the stem pops up and it's closed still and you can't quite see any of the color yet. And then after that is when it starts to open, so it still looks kind of ugly. It might still have a little bit of brown to it. And then it opens up and then it's the yellow, and that's the key right there. That's the one that I can connect with the most. Is just, it's bright, it's pretty, you know, it's that first sign of spring and it makes you feel happy. And they're everywhere, so it's like little pops of my dad everywhere. The wishy is the second stage that really I connect with. And that's the whole thing, you know, my dad would say some see a wish and some see a weed, and that was the symbol right there. Is you can make 1,000 wishes off of one of those. There's so many little pieces that fly out, and that's the one that means the most, I think. My dad just really liked dandelions. Like, it was almost like a perspective thing. Like,
because your dad does not seem like the dandelion.
I know. This is one of my favorite pictures of my dad. To most, it might seem kind of silly, but this is literally my dad. This is a perfect picture of him. He's wearing his Lewis Hall Leopard stuff. He's at the football stadium drinking a Diet Coke. So this is the picture I hang in my office. That's cool.
So when I read her entry, it was the story itself that resonated with me, because her dad had passed away suddenly, and it was from the same cause of death that my dad passed away from, which was a massive heart attack.
I was a sophomore in high school when it happened. It was March 5th of 2012. My cheerleading team for the juniors and seniors, I was only a sophomore at the time, was going to their state cheerleading competition for the very first time in Louisville cheerleading history. So it was a huge deal. And my mother and I, we decided we're gonna make the trip to Columbus to go watch. And the girls did great, and we were on our way home, and it was a terrible snowstorm, like no other. And my mom already does not like to drive, so it was like a 2-hour trip turned into a 5-hour trip very quickly. And the whole time we're driving, my mom's phone keeps going off. Ding, ding, ding. It's my dad texting her, "Where are you?" And like I said, he was a truck driver, so he knew highways like it was the back of his hand. My mom could tell him the mile marker and he would know exactly where we are. So that was kind of odd, just because my dad was not a super techie person, so that's not like him to be texting a lot. And we got home at pretty late. It was after midnight, and my dad was already asleep in his chair, his lazy boy. That was one of the places we could always find him. And I was obviously exhausted from a long weekend, so I went to bed. And I remember waking up and I could just hear stomping. And I didn't quite know who it was or what it was or where it was coming from or anything like that. And I remember my mom coming in and saying, "Hey, the ambulance is here, we're going to the hospital." And I was 16, but I didn't have my license yet, so I couldn't drive. And I finally came to trying to figure out what was happening, and I walk out and I'm screaming because I don't know, all the lights are off. And this EMT worker comes running towards me, and I thought it was my brother. And I'm like, Daniel, what's happening? What's happening? And the guy was like, no, I'm not Daniel. I'm an EMT worker. I'm taking your dad to the hospital. I was like, okay. At this time, it was almost like second nature to me because this was my dad's 5th heart attack. So I kind of knew some of this already, but never to the extent where they had to call an ambulance. We get to the hospital, and that's kind of when my mom broke down what happened. So my dad was like a super clean guy. So whenever he would have to go to the hospital, he always wanted to take a shower before he left, no matter what the extent of his emergency was. So he was in the shower trying to get clean before my mom was going to take him to the hospital, and he passed out in the shower. And it was just me and my mom and him home, and my mom could not get him up out of the shower. So that's when she called the ambulance. Mind you, this whole time I am fast asleep, and she said she was screaming, like asking for me to help, but I was knocked. I could not hear her at all. And so she's telling me about this, and they put us in a room that we had never been in before. And that was kind of something that we were like, well, this is weird. I think we all kind of knew when we were sitting in there. I mean, it was my whole family, my sisters, my brother, my mom. And my boyfriend at the time was there. Like, it felt like everybody was there, and everybody kind of had a feeling that something was different just because we knew this isn't where we usually go to sit to wait. People like started to tell stories already at that time. Like, we were talking jokes and telling stories about my dad and things like that normally we wouldn't do. You know, we're just kind of somber and waiting for somebody to come with, hey, you know, you can come see your dad now, or things like that. But I think just as soon as we were put in that room, it was almost like we knew that something was different. We walked back to his room, and I made it about halfway there. As soon as I saw him, I could just tell that wasn't my dad anymore. You know, he didn't look the same. He had, you know, bruising and things like that just didn't scream my dad. And so as soon as I saw that, I ran. I ran out of the hospital, actually, and somebody had to come find me. Like, I just didn't know what to do because I knew that that's not what I wanted to see my dad as the last. Coming back home, and the EMTs were trying to do, like, whatever they could, obviously. Like, they don't care about anything in that.
So there's all over, there's just shit everywhere.
Oh my gosh, I mean, the couch was flipped over, all the chairs were pushed out of the way.
Jesus, and he was in the, well, they probably had to get the gurney through to the bathroom.
And our bathroom was like a closet, so it was,
your dad looks like he was a larger man, so like,
he was.
Trying to navigate that was probably difficult.
We come home, and my mom's like, oh my god, like, open the door, like, we didn't know that's what it looked like when we left, because, you know, you had one focus.
Right.
And I feel like that was the time that I realized, okay, I can't be sad right now because I gotta clean this all up. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I had to be strong for my mom because she had lost her shit. So I remember, like, staying up, cleaning all of that up, and then laying in her bed with her. She was so upset, and then the phone rings, and it was the hospital asking for organ donation. And my mom's like, well, what organs are you going to take? Because there's no good ones left.
Oh my god.
And she's like, you're going to have to call back later. I don't know. And then I remember my mom woke me up and asked me, she's like, do you think Dad would want to donate his organs? And at first I was like, yeah, probably. But then I remember after his last heart attack, he finally did take me to get my temps, and they asked me if I wanted to be an organ donor, and I said yes. And then he looked at me and he goes, you know, they take their eyes, and like freaked me out, and he was freaked out by it, and I like had just remembered that right after she asked me, and I was like, no, you have to call him back and tell him no, he wouldn't want that.
The specific line from her entry that got me was thinking about all the things that she wasn't going to get to do now that she didn't have him. And that was probably one of the biggest things I've battled with since losing my dad, was him missing all of the milestones in my life. the birth of my kids, especially my son, just him being so much like my dad. He even said when I was little that he would never see me graduate. I just feel like he kind of knew that he was just not a healthy person, and that, I don't know, for whatever reason, that he wouldn't be around. So
I was thinking myself, I'd just walk alone. I was gonna walk down to Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which is one of his favorite songs. Something that I feel like recently has been bothering me is all my friends are having babies, so you get to see their babies with, each parent, and then as well as their grandparents. And the one day I thought to myself, gosh, I want my kids to have all of their grandparents, because I grew up with no grandparents. My grandma died when I was in 3rd grade, and then she was the only living grandparent I ever met, other than my dad's mom, but I was very little when she passed. So I said that the other day. I said, gosh, I just want my kids to experience having grandparents. And then it hit me, and I'm like, oh, they're already down one. You know what I mean? It's already not a traditional experience for my future kids. So not being able to see my dad kind of grow a bond with, his future grandkids, my kids, is definitely hard. And my siblings all have kids, and he's missing out on that experience and, building those relationships. My brother actually just had a little boy and named him after my dad. So that was nice. It kind of brought some happiness back into our family, seeing another John running around and being able to say his name and having a happy context to it rather than a negative is exciting. This necklace was given to me at my college graduation. It is my dad's thumbprint. My sister, at his funeral, asked the funeral home to take his thumbprint, and then for all of our big important days that we've had since my dad's passed, my sister has gifted it to us. So when my brother got married, she got him a dog tag with his
sister is a genius.
With a thumbprint, and then when I graduated, I got mine, and then when my sister had her kids, she got hers.
I think so much far ahead.
I know. I don't know how she thought of it.
Yep, I did. You get a free bath.
Yay. I would say that I have a constant thing that's with me that will be it's my dad. You know what I mean? I don't know how to really put it into words other than it's I have a part of him here with me at all times. So I think that's kind of gonna help me get some more strength. Can I hug you now? I should really not hug you with that arm.
Seeing her be as strong as she was about it was inspiring to me. I would love to get to that position where I'm not bawling my eyes out when I talk about it, or living with the things that I know are trauma responses from losing my dad, and things that I do in everyday life still. I have awareness of the things that I do, but I don't have the strength yet to stop doing them because I haven't healed that part of my life. But I'm hoping that this is kind of catapults me in that way. So if anything, maybe that's how it's gonna help me.
I will. Reach out if you need anything.
I will. Thank you.
I said, promise me you'll try harder. And she just said, I don't make promises I can't keep. I told her I loved her and that I was sorry. That was that. 2 weeks later, she was dead. She was a good person. And I miss her.